Hey everybody, it's Diane Gale from the blog sustainableslowliving.com. I'm here today with some wild harvested fiddleheads. I don't know where else they harvest a lot of fiddleheads in the country, but up here in Maine they harvest a lot. They're pretty abundant here. I don't know if you can see them. Try and hold them up so you can see them. I did not wild harvest these. My son wild harvested these with a friend who is from Maine, and or maybe just his friend wild harvested them and gave them to us. I'm not sure. My son came home with them one day, and I know his friend was involved in that. He might have just harvested them and gave them to us. But anyway, the first year that I was up here, I bought some from a roadside stand because the roadside stands are all over, and we sauteed them up and they were delicious. And then last year, I think, I just bought them in the store. I honestly can't remember clearly, but this is the first year that I'm actually getting them fresh. These were just harvested yesterday, so I'm excited about that. I also am not completely clear what I have to do. I think I have to soak them. I'm pretty sure you soak them. And then these brown papery kind of husks all have to come out. So what I'm going to do now is I have this 5-gallon bucket, and I'm going to start kind of picking through them. Not really, you know, making a big deal out of it, but pulling away some of those brown husks. Because it doesn't, watch, they'll probably just all float to the top in the end or something. But I'll bet they will float to the top. As a matter of fact, I know they will. So I'm just going to put them in here. And I have 4 containers of them, so I'm pretty excited about that, because that's an awful lot of fiddleheads. And we do love them, but I will cook some up fresh probably tonight and maybe tomorrow night or the night after, and then the rest of them I'll freeze. I think I'm going to blanch them and freeze them because that makes the most sense to me since they're like a vegetable. If you've never had them before, they really do have a slight taste of asparagus. They taste kind of like asparagus to me, but they're pretty fabulous. And being a person who is trying to find as many ways as possible to incorporate the slow food movement into her life, wild food is right up my alley. So I am going to put these in this bucket and soak them and get these paper husks off of them. A lot of it is coming out right here in these containers. And then get them rinsed up and back here at the table so that I can make some together with you. And we're just going to saute them. Simple stuff, saute them with a little bit of seasoning. They're just fabulous that way, and there's a lot that you can do with them once they're done. So we'll talk about that when we come back. And we will be back as soon as these are soaked and ready to go. All right, you guys, I will see you soon. Okay, you guys, I'm back. Putting the fiddleheads in a bucket full of water, not the best idea for cleaning them. Let me turn this burner on so that it's ready when I'm ready, and then I'll tell you a little bit about that. I don't know anything about cleaning fiddleheads. I do know that it's not the easiest thing to do. Because I know that they somehow rig up old washing machines here to do it, because it's tedious, I think. But I put them in that water thinking that those husks would float, and they kind of do, but there's so many, they're not that big, and seriously they look like flower petals floating in the water. And I mean, it just looks like you know, a dozen or 2 dozen actually or more flower heads were murdered in there. I don't know. So I strained a lot of it out. A lot of it did come out, but they're still covered and they're wet. And I wanted to cook some today. I wanted to do this when I realized how long it was going to take me to clean them all. I thought it was better if I did this first, did the video first for you guys, and then I'll get all of those cleaned. And like I said, I'm going to blanch them and put them in the freezer. I'm probably going to keep quite a bit of them out because we'll use them for all different things. But for now, I have a little plate that is cleaned. I kind of rinsed these ones by hand, and that worked a lot better. I think if I had to clean them again without talking to a local person about how, I would probably clean some of those husks out by hand, just to kind of go through them quickly, and then I would rinse them individually because that seemed to work a lot easier. But we have these, and we're going to cook them. I'm just going to cook this small amount today because, like I said, we'll have some in the fridge and we'll be eating them, but I'm the only one home right now, and so this is just going to be kind of a snack for me. I'm not even really all that hungry, but here I am, and well, fiddleheads. So I'm going to do them what I think is probably the simplest way to do them. I know of a lot of other ways to prepare them, and I'm probably going to experiment with some of those ways. And definitely in the future there'll be, blog posts like that. I don't know if they'll be out there this year because the blog is so new and everything is going along, but they'll definitely be posts like that in the future. For right now, we're just going to do it the simplest way. For those of you who have maybe never had these, I'm going to put a little olive oil in that pan, and I'm going to let it heat up a little bit. It's getting pretty hot pretty quick. It's steaming, and that's good because I want them to sizzle a little when I first put them in there. But I'm going to let that electric burner turn down a little bit so they sizzle when they hit this oil, and then there's not all that heat on them. Okay, here we go. Yeah, baby. And I hope that every single one of you has a wooden spoon that looks like this. This thing has been with me, I don't know, at least a decade. This is like my go-to spoon. If it's there in the utensil holder when I'm cooking, it's definitely the one that I'll pick up. So we're going to put a little bit of salt, never too much salt, not for me anyway. Unless I'm eating French fries and then way too much salt. I'm going to put a little bit of coarsely ground black pepper. Enough to give it a little kick. And then since it's so hot and it's sizzling there, before I put the garlic in, I'm going to give them another toss. Oops, man overboard. Time for some garlic. You can chop your garlic if you want to, if you don't have a garlic press. I advise you to get a garlic press. I love my garlic press. Love it. Oh, you can smell it as soon as it goes in there. Yummy. Yummy, yummy. I'm making a mess here with this garlic. Alright, that should do it. I'm going to stir it up a little more. I like mine to be browned a little bit. But this is still cooking kind of high, so I'm going to turn it down. You can also throw a little bit of broth in there if you have it while you're cooking these. Chicken broth, if you're not opposed to the chicken. Veggie broth. I like veggie broth for most things anyway. One thing about wild food is most often, if you research what you're eating, and you absolutely should, then It needs to be cooked, you know, pretty well. It shouldn't be, you don't want your fiddleheads to be crunchy. Alright guys, I'm going to give this a few more minutes to cook, and then we'll be back. Okay, you guys, it's calming down now, but it is still sizzling in there. And I'm going to take a little bit of red cooking wine, and I'm just going to splash it in there, because you can hear the fiddlehead sizzling. The pan is hot. Very hot. And what it's going to do is it's going to steam that flavor of that red wine right up through those fiddleheads. And I just want a little bit, just enough to just cover the bottom. You really don't want much in there at all. And then I'm just going to let that wine cook off. It'll help cook down these fiddleheads a little more. And they'll be ready to eat. But for right now, let's talk about what you can do with them. Now, as you can tell by the way that I'm talking, I am definitely not a fiddlehead expert. I just started eating them a few years ago when I came up here, but I am a very good cook, or at least so people tell me. I don't know how good I am. I have a lot of experience, so I know a lot about cooking. That I do know about myself. And I like my own food, so there's that. But anyway, I will cook some up and put them in the fridge, as I mentioned before. And we will use them in omelets in the morning. We will eat them just as a vegetable. I will probably at some point saute some onions and maybe another vegetable and make a stir fry. We always do stir fries over rice noodles or over rice. It's a common dinner for us, so we'll probably eat some that way one night. They would also be amazing in an Alfredo. And, you know, an Alfredo sauce is, I can only imagine, would make them outstanding. There's a lot that you can do with them. Really just think of them as, you know, like spinach or Swiss chard, or, I mean, they're just another vegetable. I'm trying to think of other ways that you could use them. A little bit of cheese or some kind of sauce and putting them as a topping on a baked potato. Yummy. Or putting them on a pizza. I've seen them put them on pizzas up here, which is another great idea. Putting them in a wrap. So they're great to have around. Wild food has its season, and for these the seasons are spring and fall, but from what I've read it is more lucrative, and they are tastier when you pick them in the spring. I haven't heard of people picking them in the fall, but I just may not know about that. So we got quite a little bit. I didn't get too much this year because if you watched any of my other videos, you know that I live in a very tiny space. These are them. Oh my goodness. Ah. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I live in a very tiny space, and so I don't want a lot of fiddleheads. Well, I want a lot of fiddleheads, but I have nowhere to put them. So by the time we keep one of those containers that you saw out and we eat off of that, the rest of them will get blanched and they'll get frozen, and we'll eat them throughout the summer. It'll be a treat every single time that we get a bag out of the freezer for sure. And here's what we have right now. Gosh, it looks so good. They look incredible. I don't know if you can see those. I think you can. It looks to me like you can. They look amazing. I'm going to try to take a bite. I'll get one of the little ones. They gotta be pretty hot. Mm. Oh my goodness. As I remember. Very good stuff. And so simple. Olive oil, salt, pepper, fresh garlic, and a little bit of red cooking wine. And the cooking wine really is optional. Like I said, you can do broth. You can put in a little more oil. I like to cook them at a little bit of a higher temp because I like them to be a little bit seared. But you can also saute them at a lower temp if that works better for you. But definitely, if you can get your hands on some, make some for yourself. You're going to enjoy them. They are good stuff. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified every time that I put out a new video. It's been really great having you here with me today, and I will see you again real soon.